Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into the start of a story that's got quite a mix: attraction, suspense, hidden motives,
That's right. We're looking at excerpts from Cathryn Fox's All Worked Up.
and focusing on the beginning, the sparks flying between the main characters.
Exactly. We've got Candace Steele, she's an interior designer, restoring this old inn. Importantly, she's sworn off men.
Okay. And then there's Mark Collins. He's a carpenter hired for the job.
And Candace finds him, well, very attractive. Instantly.
So let's talk about why Candace is so anti-relationship right now. It's not random, is it?
No, not at all. It comes from, past stuff. She's apparently dealt with actors, aspiring actors.
Oh, right. Trying to use her connection. Her father's a movie producer.
Exactly. So they see her as a way in. She's really determined to make it on her own, achieve her dream independently.
And it sounds like she's just had bad luck, too. Men not interested in her for her.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. So she's built up these walls.
Okay, and Mark, what's his deal when he shows up?
Well, his initial plan is professional distance, keep Candace at arm's length while he's working there.
But
But she's very attractive. So that plan hits a snag pretty much immediately. His job and his personal reaction are already clashing.
okay, so let's get to that first encounter. Candace is out running.
Yeah, early morning run. And she spots this guy, no shirt, working on the inn. She assumes he's like the paint stripper.
And the description from her point of view is pretty detailed.
Oh, very. Let's just say she notices the physique, sculpted, the whole thing. It's a big visual impact right away.
So that physical attraction is immediate, undeniable.
Completely. And what's interesting is her internal reaction. She's got this pact with her friends, Lindsay and Anna, right? No men.
Right, the pact.
But this guy, the attraction is just pow. Instant conflict for her. It shows how attraction can just sideswipe your best intentions.
And then, like clockwork, her dad calls while she's staring at the stripper.
Yeah, talk about timing. It's almost funny, but it just instantly reinforces why she's trying to avoid men, that whole nepotism thing she hates.
So what about Mark? Does he know she's watching him?
Oh, he knows. And he's already struggling because, well, he finds her attractive too. It makes his whole keep your distance mission a lot harder.
And there's more to his mission, isn't there?
Right. This is crucial. He's actually there to protect her. Her father hired him.
Ah, okay. So he's basically undercover security.
Kind of, yeah. Which adds this whole layer of tension and secrecy to everything he does next.
And then Pamita, the inn owner, she messes things up. Or helps him out, depending how you look at it.
Helps him out, maybe accidentally. She mistakes Mark for the actual paint stripper.
No way.
Yep. So suddenly, Mark has this perfect excuse to get closer to Candace under this false identity. It kind of sets the whole plot in motion, that misunderstanding.
Okay, so mistaken identity is key. What's next? The lake.
The lake incident, yeah. Blueberry Lake. Candace is distracted, thinking, and she falls in.
Oops. Embarrassing.
Oh. Very. But then Mark reacts with, genuine concern. And that throws her off.
His worry surprises her.
Yeah, it seems to get past her defenses for a second. Maybe she's not used to that kind of reaction.
But she recovers quickly.
Oh, yeah. She immediately blames him for her falling in, which leads to this playful argument.
Banter.
Right, banter. And she notices his smile. Another little crack in her armor, maybe.
And physically.
Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
happening? Cold water.
You'd think cold water would, cool things down. But nope. She becomes very aware of him looking at her and, well, her body reacting.
Despite the cold.
Despite the cold. It really highlights that physical pull, that struggle between her vow and what she's feeling.
So Mark offers to help her out of the water.
He does. And Candace, she makes a move.
What does she do?
Impulsively, she pulls him in with her.
Get out. Okay, so that definitely changes the dynamic.
Big time. Now they're both soaked in the lake. There's this shared moment, this awareness of something building between them.
You can feel the tension.
Definitely. The description focuses on, dripping water, her thoughts getting pretty lustful. But Mark, he holds back. He doesn't kiss her.
Why not? Still the job.
Seems like it, that internal conflict again. His desire versus his duty to her father.
So they talk in the water.
Yeah. She asks how he knew her name, since she still thinks he's just the stripper.
Good question. What does he say?
He improvises, says he overheard her friends. Then he finally introduces himself as Mark Collins.
So not the stripper, just Mark. Does that help?
It seems to. For Candace, there's this feeling she feels weirdly safe with him, trusts him somehow, which is different for her.
And crucially,
He doesn't seem to react to her last name, Steele. Doesn't seem to know who her father is.
which to her is a massive green flag. He's not after her connections.
Exactly. It lets her see him as just Mark, maybe for the first time with any guy in a while.
But Mark's internally freaking out a bit.
Oh, yeah. He's like, whoa, almost crossed the line there. He's walking this tightrope, really attracted to her, but he's got this job to do for her dad, duty versus desire.
Okay, so the lake scene's intense. What happens next? The carpentry job.
Right, so Candace mentions she needs a carpenter for one of the rooms she's designing, and it's, let's just say, an unconventionally themed room.
Oh, do tell.
It's her marathon sex-themed room.
Oh, okay. That tells you something about Candace. Or the inn's vibe.
Both, maybe. And guess who immediately volunteers for the job?
Well, yes, Mark.
Bingo. Sees his chance, maybe. And Candace's reaction, she's clearly interested, especially when he makes this little comment about being good with his hands.
Oh, he did not. Okay, the flirting is definitely mutual then.
Seems like it. And then Pamina, the owner, chimes in again.
What does she do?
Offers Mark room and board, right there at the inn.
So he'll be living there.
Yep. And Pamina says something kind of knowing, like, things might get a little messy.
Does she suspect something? Or just being quirky, Pamina?
Hard to tell at this point, but it definitely adds a bit of foreshadowing, doesn't it?
Absolutely. How does Candace feel about him moving in?
Internally.
Oh.
Thrilled. You can tell she's excited. Her focus kind of shifts now to like, okay, how do I get him to make a move?
She wants him to initiate. Interesting.
Yeah, the power dynamic is kind of shifting back and forth.
So they start working together on this room.
Yeah. And Mark, he actually enjoys the physical work, the carpentry. But his reasons for taking the job, are they purely professional? To keep an eye on her?
Or does he just want to be close to her?
That's the question, isn't it? His internal monologue suggests it's a mix, maybe leaning towards wanting to be near her. How authentic are his motives right now?
And the room itself. The marathon sex room. What's going in there?
Oh, well, things like a tantra chair, a sex swing.
Seriously?
Uh-huh. A glider, a dance pole. It's quite the setup.
Okay, so working together in that environment
Mm-hmm.
must be tough for Mark to keep his professional cool.
Extremely tough. Those items are like constant reminders of intimacy, desire. They're basically tangible temptations.
And Candace isn't helping, I assume.
Yeah, not one bit. She's teasing him, flirting. He's basically in a constant state of arousal.
Poor guy. Or lucky guy, depending on your perspective.
Yeah. But he's determined he will not make the first move. He's sticking to that boundary, maybe worried about the job.
While all this is going on, does Mark notice anything else happening at the end?
Yeah, he clocks Lindsay and Anna, Candace's friends, interacting with the guys they hired. He senses some potential sparks flying there, too.
So romance might be blooming all over the inn.
Seems like it. It adds to the overall atmosphere.
And Candace's effect on Mark, it's still strong.
Oh, absolutely. There's this moment where he just watches her walk, and his reaction is described as, like, intensely physical. That magnetic pull is definitely still there.
Then Pamina steps in again.
Yeah.
With Mark.
Yeah, she has this conversation with him. Seems quite insightful. She basically warns him about Candace's past, how men have tried to use her because of her dad.
How does Mark take that?
It hits him hard. He gets angry internally at the guys who hurt her. His protective feelings really ramp up.
Genuine concern.
Definitely seems genuine. But it also makes him feel worse about his own deception. Right. Because he's also not being upfront with her.
Yeah.
And Pamina makes this really pointed comment, something like, "You aren't deceiving her, are you, Mark?"
Oh, direct hit.
Yeah. Major guilt trip for Mark right there.
So the tension is just building and building. Where does it lead? Back to the lake.
Seems inevitable, doesn't it? Mark's keeping an eye on Candace even when she goes into town. He can't stop thinking about that first lake encounter. She's really gotten under his skin.
And does she find him?
She does. She approaches him down by the lake again. She's being flirtatious, and his desire just flares right back up.
And she suggests?
A swim. And any resolve Mark had left just dissolves.
So in they go.
And this time it's different. Passionate embrace, kissing, right there in the water.
In public.
Oh, yeah. Which seems to add to the thrill, maybe especially for Candace. It's like they're finally acted on everything that's been simmering.
But Mark still has that flicker of worry.
Even in the heat of the moment, yeah. He has this thought about the consequences. The lines are getting seriously blurred now. Duty, desire. It's a mess.
So they get back to the inn after that. How's the mood?
Kind of a comfortable silence, actually. But you can tell Candace wants more. Mark, though. He's still battling himself. That quiet tension is loud,
Yeah, and then they hear Noises.
From Lindsay's room. Sounds like she's definitely broken the pact.
Ah. So Candace and Mark have some banter about that.
Yeah, kind of suggestive teasing. And Candace is thinking, well, so much for my pact. Clearly, Mark is making her reconsider everything.
What does Mark do then?
He actually retreats to his van. And here's where it gets interesting. He has security footage, surveillance gear.
Of course, the security guy.
Right. And he rewinds the footage of their lake encounter, the kissing, and watches it.
Wow. Okay.
And let's just say he gets pretty worked up watching it. He's alone in his van, dealing with the frustration, until Candace knocks on the window, interrupts him.
Oh, God. Awkward.
Extremely. He panics, tries to hide what he was doing.
Yeah.
But she just teases him, challenges him to a race back to the lake.
A race. Okay, she's persistent.
Very. And playful. It breaks the tension again.
So the race is on. What's the prize?
Well, Candace has a plan. If she wins, she makes a pretty bold suggestion involving some of that specialized furniture back in her room.
The tantra chair and stuff.
The very same. Mark's reaction is, well, predictable, surprised, but definitely turned on by her boldness.
Does she win?
She claims victory, maybe with a little strategy, and Mark pulls her close. There's still that hint of protectiveness, even now.
And then they head back.
Back to the inn, straight to Candace's room. The race definitely upped the ante.
And inside the room.
Candace takes charge. She wants this on her terms. She starts asking suggestive questions about the tantra chair. She's clearly feeling empowered.
Good for her. How does Mark respond?
He seems to start taking control, but then he lets her lead. And there's this vulnerable moment where he asks her to get naked with him. Not just for him, with him.
That feels significant. Like partnership, not just heat.
Exactly. It shows a deeper connection forming.
So they undress.
Yeah. The description emphasizes the intimacy. Mark's intense gaze. And then Candace, she initiates oral sex.
Wow. Taking control again.
Yeah, it's portrayed as this really connecting moment, intimate, and Mark's reaction is described as really intense, but also tender, like a smile.
And then the tantra chair.
Then the tantra chair. The focus is very much on her pleasure, which seems important to the dynamic they're creating.
What about practicalities?
Condoms appear. Apparently, Pamina leaves them in the rooms. It's a bit surprising to both of them.
Okay, innkeeper Pamina strikes again.
Seems like it. And again, Candace takes the lead, puts it on him, reinforcing her agency.
And their intimacy continues.
Oh, yeah. Very passionate, mutual desire, pleasure, until they get interrupted. By Abra. Pamina's cat.
The cat. Perfect timing. Does it break the mood?
Not really. It's just a brief interruption, underscores the realness of it all, maybe. But their connection feels really deep by this point. Candace seems very content.
Okay, so morning after. How is it?
It's good. They wake up together. Mark's feelings are clearly intense, really deep now, and they're intimate again, comfortably, connectedly.
Still playful?
Yeah, there's banter about the dance pole. He wants her to show him how to use it.
And there's an element of exhibitionism.
A little. They realize they might be visible from outside the window, and Candace seems to kind of lean into it, deliberately showing off their connection.
Interesting. And for Mark?
It seems to be a moment where he really grapples with how deep his feelings have become. Like, this is serious.
The truth is still hanging out there. Does Candace start suspecting?
Yeah, the doubts start creeping in. After Mark leaves, she starts thinking how little she actually knows about him. His answers are always kind of vague. That intuition starts buzzing.
Unease sets in.
Right. So she talks to Pamina about Mark, about how she hired him.
Yeah, and Pamina is?
Still vague. A bit cagey, suspicious even. Doesn't really help clear things up, just makes Candace more doubtful.
So Candace decides she needs real answers.
Yep. She decides to go to New York to see her father.
And meanwhile, Mark.
Mark is also heading to her father's office. His plan? To quit.
Quit the security job. Why?
Because his feelings for Candace are real now. He wants to protect her because he wants to, not because he's paid to. But he's still torn up about the deception. It's crunch time for him, too.
So they're both converging on Dad's office. This can't end well.
You guessed it. Candace walks in and sees Mark there, talking to her father.
Oh, no. The penny drops.
Big time. She realizes instantly he's her security guard, the guy she's fallen for, the guy she trusted because he didn't seem connected to her dad. Works for him.
The betrayal must feel huge.
Absolutely devastating. Hurt, betrayed. She just bolts. Leaves immediately.
Understandable. So she goes back to the inn.
Yeah, totally drained, emotionally wrecked.
Does Mark follow her? Does he try to explain?
He does. He confronts her back at the inn, and he seems genuinely sorry. He apologizes, explains why he did it.
Does he tell her he was there to quit?
Yes. That's a key part of his explanation. He went there to resign because his feelings were real. He wanted to protect her for her, not for the money.
Does that make a difference to Candace?
It seems to. They actually talk about his plans, his career. Candace starts to acknowledge that, despite the lie, the connection they felt was real. Maybe Pamina's earlier words resonate too.
So there's a chance for reconciliation.
It looks like it. They have this really honest moment, laying identities, feelings, everything on the table, and they actually admit they love each other.
Right.
After all that.
Yeah. And then Mark has a little peace offering.
Where is it?
Remember her iPod got ruined when she fell in the lake?
Oh, yeah.
He bought her a new one. A small gesture, but symbolic. Trying to make things right.
That's sweet. So where do they end up? They decide to move forward. Together. But this time, honestly. The playful banter comes back, but now it's grounded in truth. And there's definitely anticipation for, well, more intimacy built on that new honesty.
So, to wrap up this deep dive into the start of their story, we saw this incredibly intense initial attraction.
Yep, complicated immediately by Mark's secret job, his hidden identity.
And their relationship unfolded through all these moments, the lake, the carpentry, the shared living space, the growing heat.
Until the truth inevitably came out, leading to that big confrontation.
But ending, surprisingly perhaps, with a resolution based on honesty and genuine feeling.
Right. And for you listening, especially if you like those aha moments but don't want to get bogged down, notice how this takes a simple romance setup, boy meets girl, and layers it with these hidden motives, professional duties, past hurts.
It makes it much more complex than just simple attraction. It shows how first impressions, well, they can be really wrong.
Exactly. And it raises questions about trust. Can you build something real even if it started on a shaky foundation? If the connection underneath the lie was genuine?
It really makes you think, doesn't it? About new relationships in general. How much does total honesty up front really matter versus the connection itself? Can you recover from that kind of deception?
Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. Is it actually possible for a relationship that begins with a significant lie to find solid ground in truth and genuine connection later on?
And maybe, what does it really take to see someone for who they truly are, past all the guards and secrets they might put up, intentionally or not?
Something to ponder. We'll leave it there for this dip dive.